Yes, so we're dealing with lists first of all as a data type that's actually necessary. So lists, what are lists? Lists are actually a set of objects that can actually be mutated, that can be edited, that can be changed. So how do we create a list? We create a list. Now, for example, this is a variable fruit. Now, I'm sure you've been thought of variables, and variables are actually containers where we store data. And these data can include numbers, can include names, can include lists. Yes, so this is actually, this variable fruit now is actually a list. And we actually Python actually knows a list when we use a rectangular bracket. So we use a rectangular bracket now, like in this case, now we have a rectangular bracket and we have apple in quotes, we have banana in quotes, and then we have cherry in quotes. So now this is actually a list. So this list contains fruits, apple, banana, cherry. And now what happens is that the Python sees apple as the first object, so the first item in the list. Banana is the second item in the list, and then cherry is the third item in the list. Now, like I said, this list can be mutated, it can be changed. Unlike tuples are actually data types that cannot be changed, so they are immutable. So where we have, you can actually access elements in a string. So in a list, I mean, we can access elements in a list, and now this element has what we call index position. So for example, this apple has an index. Every list now, the beginning of the first item in the list has an index position of 0. The second item in the list has an index position 1, and so on and so forth. So whenever you want to access items in a list, so we actually use also square brackets. So what we do is that we call on the print function. Remember, we need to call on the print function whenever you want to see a result. So we call on the print function, and then we insert the list fruits in it, and then we use the subsetting function, this square bracket. So when we put 0, what happens is that it accesses the list and then prints out the first element in this list. So when we run this code now, so I'm currently using Google Colab. I believe John yesterday introduced us to several Python IDEs that we can use. So if I should edit this to be 1, so what happens is that Python prints out what the second element in this list. Second element in this list. So when I run this, so we see that what the output now is banana. So if I should edit this to 2, definitely it's going to print out what the third element on this list. And so this is how we can access elements in a list. Now this will come in handy in subsequent times as we go through this course. So let's move on now. So we can actually, like I said, it was a Python list actually immutable. They're mutable. We can change them. So we have several methods that we can call on the Python list. Now, for example, when you want to add to a Python list, we use the method .append. So append is a keyword that Python recognizes that. And when you call on this method .append, and whatever you insert, you must be in quotation mark. And then when you insert this, now what it does is that what it adds these elements now orange to the list that we already have here. So if I should come here now, okay, we can also use the .remove method to remove elements in a string. So we have several methods that we can use on to modify a list. But for the sake of this course, we'll just be looking at this to how to add and how to remove in the list. So we'll be giving us some exercises. So please you should take note of this. And when you want to add to a list, use the .append method. When you want to remove from a list, use the .remove method. Remember, Python is actually the syntax are human related. You can see when you look at the word append, it actually makes sense that okay, yeah, you're adding something. When you look at the word remove, yes, you actually know that you're removing something. So it's actually relatable to us. I believe this should not be an issue when it comes to remembering some of the syntax. So now when we print out the word fruit now, sorry, the list fruits now, here's what we have. So what Python does is that instead of printing apple, banana, and what cherry, now we know that we've added we appended what orange to the list. So what it does is that it adds whatever you are adding to the list is actually added at the end of the list. You can be specific to add it in different position. Remember, every element has a specific index position starting from what? From 0. Okay, I also did not mention that. Okay, let's say for example, you do not know the last the index position of the last element in that string. Now, the index position of every last element in a string is actually -1. So let's say I want to print out the last element in the string and I do not know the index position. I can just use the -1 here and then it will also print out the last element in that string, in that list. So now we can see that the output was still cherry. So what happens here is that Python will add this orange to the end of the list, and then it has removed banana because we removed banana from here. So we can see that after printing this, we have what? Apple, cherry, and orange. Now, you see, people can notice that at some point you're seeing the hashtag and it is highlighted in green. Now, this hash is actually used to comment. And comment actually is a part of the syntax of Python that we use to actually, when you say commenting, is used to document your Python code, because as you can see this, now I believe this code is very readable. When somebody doesn't even know what I'm doing here, now when you see modifying a list, now when Python see that hashtag, it says it's called a single line comment. It doesn't run this. It doesn't run this. It's highlighted in green. It doesn't run this. Now see it adds out an element. This you can use it to document your code by actually including what that line of code does. So I don't know if we are understanding this. And so please, if there's any question, please take note of them. And then at the end, we're going to address them. So we talk about creating dictionaries. Now we have lists. That's all about list. Now I want to talk about dictionaries. Now dictionaries are another type of of their data types also that include key pair values. Now what do I mean by key pair value? Now that in this case now we have the name. This is called the key. This is called the key. This is called the what? The value. So let's say, for example, you want to take in the data of a customer in, a customer, you're running an organization and all. So now instead of actually creating several variables, now you create the first variable and say student one. You now have name. Okay, let's say student now name. That's what when we talk about naming variables now, say student name, that's John. Then when I talk about student age, 20, then student course, Python. Now you end up creating numerous variables, and it can make your Python code tacky and scattered. If you're not careful, it can lead to errors. Now, so dictionary can help us actually have all of this in a very neat and concise way, where we have that where we just create one single variable student, and then the first key name, we attach the value John to it. The second key, you can see there's a comma here. So please take note of the syntax. There's a comma here separating the first key pair value, key value pair. And then we have another key again, age. And then we have the value 20, another key again, course. And then we have the value Python. So we can actually access all of these the values in this Python code now. So what we do is that we call on the print function again, and then we use the variable student. We take note now, we are using this square bracket whenever you want to access the position of something, maybe in a string, in a list, or in a dictionary, make use of the square bracket. So now we are using the square bracket now, but in this case, we call upon the key in that variable. So we call this name now is the key of this variable. And then now when we do that, what's going to happen? It's going to print out the value. So in this case now, it's printing out what? John. So if I should edit this now and say, okay, print out what? I want to access the key age. What is an age? So it's going to print out what? The value of that age, which is what? 20. So these are how we can access the values in a dictionary. So we can see how all of this can be helpful in the program we're going to run soon. So now we have students. Now we can also modify dictionary. We can add to it. We can change values in the dictionary, and also we can append. That means we can add what key and values to a dictionary. Now, how do we do that? Whenever you want to modify what the dictionary, you want to add to it now, also you want to change the value in it now. So what we do is that just same way as assessing the value in that string, but in this case now we say student age, and then instead when I say we're not assigning 21 to that key. So now instead of what Python to be reading age as being 20, it's going to modify it to what to 25, because in this next line of code we have what changed the value instead of 20 to what to 20. Now we have not assigned what 21 now to the key age. Now also we want to add a new key value pair. What we do is that we write what what's the dictionary. The real name is what student. So we use a square bracket again. Now in this case, the key here is the grade, and then the A here is the what we're assigning it as the value to the key grade. So when we print this, let's see what's going to bring out. So now we have what name John, age 21. Instead of 20, now is now what 21. We've appended it, we've changed it. So now, okay, no, we've actually modified it here in this case. So course now is Python, and then the grade is A. It was not here before, but now we've added this. So let's say we want to add location, for example, location. So what do? We say student. We're going to make use of square brackets. Remember, the key must also be in what? In quotes. So let's say we want to add location of this student now. So we are going to use the assignment symbol, which is equal to here. Equal to here in Python is actually necessarily is not actually equal to student. Is actually what assigning. So we want to assign the let's say Lagos in this case. So now I want to add this to it. So when we print this thing at the end of the day, we're going to see that what it has added location Lagos. So we can see that we can just have the data of every student, of every customer. Okay, let's say student in this case, every customer in a single line. So it makes our work concise and neat. Yes. So going to tuples now. Tuples are actually what immutable set, ordered set. So now they are ordered in the sense that what now we have 10 here, we have 20. So it actually follows through, unlike sets. Sets now, I know we did sets in our mathematics, high school mathematics. Now, when we have sets are actually not ordered. When I say, for example, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let me use this now. 10 and 20. If it's not ordered, it will be the same as putting 20 before 10. But in this case, it is ordered because what 10 must come before what 20. For if I said, okay, if I should create another tuple and name it, let's say a twin now, it must actually what be for the Python to recognize the coordinates and then another variable to be the same. The value entered must actually be in the same position. So 10 must come before 20. So I hope that is clear. So in this case now, tuples are actually what ordered. And so, yes, tuples are actually ordered and they are what immutable. So whenever you want to access actually elements in a tuple, you also make use of what the square bracket. So when I use what coordinate square bracket 0, it's going to print out what the first element in the tuple. When I use 1, it's going to print out what the second element here. And so whenever you want to print out what this thing, we have unpacking a tuple. Now you want it to what to be assigned to a variable. Now, since we know that okay, tuples, this coordinate now has just two values, two elements. Now we can now say x comma y is equal to coordinate. So what it does is that it assigns the first value here 10 to x, and then assigns the second value here 20 to what to y. So we can now what unpack this tuple, and then we can now what use it for maybe further things now. So at the end of the day here, x will be equal to what 10 and y will be equal to what 20. So if you take note of this, you can see that where we had the first print statement, it is the same with the output here 10. because we are printing out the first element of this tuple here. And then we have the second pre-statement here, which what aligns with this one. So where we have 10 and what 20. So when I talk about sets, of course, this is not the first time we're hearing the word set. So sets actually what a a is a collection of what of objects. So it is unordered, like I said. So if I should create another set here and name it let's say age, for example, and I write what 2, 3, 4. Let me just do that so we can see. So if I have age, and we should take note that actually, okay, let me go through something again so that we can see that whenever we are creating lists, remember I said we are making use of what square bracket. Whenever we are creating a dictionary, see, take note, we're making use of what of a curly bracket, and whenever we are creating tuples, we're making use of what a circular, like a circular what bracket. So whenever we're creating what's it called set, also we're making use of what curly bracket. So please take note of that. Now, when I said sets are actually unordered, I can also have 2, 1, 4, 3, 5 here in this set. And Python, we see these two sets as being the same thing, because that means the order at which they appear. 2 is coming in age now, 2 comes before 1, 4 comes before 3. Okay, no, this is 3, 3. So that means I can have instead of 5 here, I can have 3 here. So, and also, so we can say numbers and age now is the same. So that's what unordered means now in this case. So we can also use some methods. We can run some methods in Python in to sets. Now we can use the dot add method, which adds what an element to the set that we already have here. We have the dot remove. We can remove a particular element in what in a set. So now we can actually iterate through this what set by saying what for number for num in number. So what Python does is that it actually what iterates through the sets. It actually iterates through set and prints out what every element in this set now and append it and add it to what and put it in this what variable num. So we're going to talk about what is it called for loop shortly, but for now this is how what we modify sets. We can actually add, we can what remove. So now we have the conditional statements. So conditional statements are necessary when making decisions. They are important whenever you want to write a program that needs to make decision. So for example, now if you want to if I have a program now that needs to segregate between an adult and a minor. So if you see the age, now assigning 18 to the variable age. So we now say if age is greater or equal to, this is a greater or equal to sign, we use the greater than, then we add what, followed by what, the equal to. That means if age now is above 18, greater than or equal to means what? It is 18 and above. So this what Python does, that it's going to print you an adult. But if what else, print what, you are a minor. That means whatever it is again, outside what, 18, if the number is less than what than 18, just print what you are a minor. Yes, so it can run this. So when we run this now, this first code now, when we run this, let's do that quickly. Now we see that what Python will print out, remember we assigned 18 to this age already. Now there are times that we did an input output statement yesterday, now asking the user for input for data now, but in this case we pre-assigned it. So of course we know that it's going to print out what you're an adult. But let's see if we use a number less than 18. Let's see if it's going to obey that. So when we run this again, so you see it prints out what you are a minor. So it's whatever we have actually what added to it. That's what it does. So whenever it is 18 and above, it prints what you're an adult. So if it doesn't, if it checks this condition and it says, okay, the way it works, if it checks this condition, first of all, age is 10, it will ask, is 10 greater than only equal to what 18? If it's not, it will not run this block of code here. It's going to skip it and go to the what, to the else statement, and then run it immediately. Now let's look at the if, if, and what, and else statement. So this is if, this is else, if, and then this is what, else. Now you can have as many elif in what, in between an if statement and an else statement. So we have what, score is equal to what, 85. So we're now saying that, okay, if the score 85, is it greater than 90? Is it greater or equal to 90? If it is not, Python is going to skip it. Check the next condition, that is score greater or equal to 80. If it is what, greater or equal to 80, now we can see that what, in this case, is greater than what, is greater than what, than 80 in this case now. So but less than 90. So Python is going to what, run this code here. Python is going to run it and say else print what, grade C. So whichever number now is below 80 downwards, now it's going to print what, grade C. Whichever number is above 90 upwards, now is going to print what, grade A. Then any number between 80 to what, 89 is going to print out what, grade B. So we can also do that. Let's print out what, let's try. Person has probably 40. So we'll see what's going to print out. So it's going to print out grade C in this case. And so that's how we can use what, the if statements to make decisions. So we can also what, iterate through a list now using the for loop. So when we have a list now, in this case colors, we have red, we have green, we have blue in this list now, and we want to iterate through. We want to make sure Python prints out each of these elements individually. So what we use is that we use the for loop. So for loop is actually used to iterate through probably what, a list. Yes, mostly a list or maybe a string. So now we have what, for color. Take note now, this color is different from colors here, because colors is already what, a list. So for color, now we can name this iterator. We call this the iterator. We can name it anything, but for proper documentation, we actually name it something that other people can read and understand. So we say for color in colors. So what it does is that what, it's going to now iterate through this and what, and add it to what, to this variable column. And then when we do that and print the result, so we have red, we have green, we have blue. Now individually, so what that's done is that it has iterated through the list and printed them out what, individually. So we have the while loop. The while loop gives a condition before what, it gives what, yes, it runs the condition, checks the condition before it actually what, runs the code beneath it. So we say count is equal to 0. So while count is less than 5, so already we've assigned this already, 0 to count. So is 0 less than 5? If yes, it will run it. If no, it won't run the code. So now, said if 0 less than 5, yes, so it's going to print what, 0, add it to it, go back again, and keep what, and keep running it. So it's going to now look at what this code is going to do now is that it's going to look at it. At first now we have count is what, equal to 0. So while count is less than 0, of course count is less than 0, it will print out what, that count, what's the value assigned to count, that which is what, 0. Then it's going to, this is add and assign. This means that what, add this one first to the what, the value 0, and then assign it again to count. So it will not add 1 to 0, and then go up again and run this code until this condition fails before it will break out of this loop. So that it is called a loop. It keeps going, it keeps going, it keeps going until the condition fails before what, it will break out of it. So let's run this code and see until when this number keeps increasing till is what, up to 5, then it will stop, because the condition says it must be less than 5. So when we run this, we have 0. So it first of all print 0 before what, it adds 1 to 0, and then we have what, 1, then run again. It will now make it 1. Is 1 less than this? And yes, print the 1 out, then add 1 again to 2, add 1 to 1, it becomes 2. Run this code again. Is 2 less than 5? Yes, it will print the 2 out. So it's add 1 again to 2, 3. So it keep going till what, it gets to 4. Because when it gets to 4, and then you add 1 to 4, it becomes 5. And so this, it's already what, it doesn't go through with this what condition here, because 5 is not less than 5. And so that's why what the loop ends. So please, when you're running this, be careful not to write an infinite loop. Yes, because the computer will just keep printing, 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 and then it doesn't end. So for before we end for today, so we're going to combine some of all these things that we've learned so far in order to write a program that actually counts a sentence, counts the occurrence of words in a sentence. So the first thing now, in this case, we are asking a user for an input, asking the user for an input. So you see, enter a sentence, which we're going to be seeing when we run the code. It's going to ask us for a sentence. And then what this code now does is that we now have what, remember now, the whatever sentence we enter is assigned to what, this variable here, sentence. So what we do first of all now is to what, split this sentence. We make it lowercase. You can decide to do that or not. But what's necessary is to split it. So what this split does is that once there is nothing inside this bracket, now it will split it based on space. It will split that sentence based on what space there. You can try to split based on maybe decimal point and others. Now, but in this case now, it will split it based on space. And then when we have a sentence, I am a boy, it's going to split that sentence into words, which will now become, I will become a word, arm will become a word, and then boy will become a word. And it's going to be assigned to this variable word. And then this will become a list. These words now will be a list, just like we've seen before now. Then we're going to have an empty dictionary, first of all, because we're going to use that to what? To do the count and all. So because we need it to what? To have the key. Each word, each new word we have will be a key, and then the count in that word will be the value. We talked about dictionary as being keyword, key value pair. So we're going to use the for loop now to actually remember now this word here is a list. Whatever sentence I write here is going to turn it into what? A list of words. Yes, and then we're not going to, you can just do it, since this is already recorded, you can do it to write this code and then run it and play around it. Feel free, play around it. Don't be scared of encountering an error. Sometimes it is necessary for your growth. And when you encounter error, Python is going to let you know where the error is, or the ID is going to let you know where the error is. You can change it and then know how the code works properly. Now, so you can decide to just write a print statement here to see what is being printed out at first. That means you can add what? A print statement here to say, first of all, print what? Print words. Yes, so let's do that. So that we'll see what it does at that point there. Now, so for word in words, now I want to iterate through these words. Remember, the goal now is to count the occurrence of a word in a sentence. Like, for example, if I said, I am a boy, yes, I am. It's going to count how many times I put there's I, how many times there's am, how many times there's boy, and so that's the goal of this program. So now, this statement now counts the occurrences of each word. So now we're going to set for word in words. Remember, this can be anything at all, but for the sake of what proper documentation, we use for word now, for word in words now. Then what we do is that now, remember, this word count is a dictionary. And remember, how do we add a new key value pair now to a dictionary? Remember, we use we use a square bracket. We have word here, and then because this is also a variable, that's why it is not in quotes. If you remember how we create or how we add a key value pair in a dictionary, this is supposed to be in quotes, but in this case now is a variable, so it's not in quotes. So we have word count dot get. So what it does is that this dot get now retrieves the word in this. Remember now, Python is going to split this list into several words, just like we've seen here, where we use the for loop to print each of these words separately. So that's what's going to happen here. It's going to print each of these words. Now, I am a boy. It will make it individually here. Here, I am a boy. So the Python is going to go through it one after the other. So this dot get now is going to retrieve each of those words, now each of these words, and then assign 0 to it. If it doesn't exist, then add 1. And so Then we can now print word frequency. This means new line backslash or front slash n means new line. So we're going to now print word frequency just for proper documentation. So we now have again, so for word comma count in word count. Now, what this means is that this is actually the key. This word is actually the key for the dictionary. Remember, word count is the dictionary, and then word count is actually what the value for what the items now in this word count. So remember, we've actually gone through each of these words. So please feel free to add print statements at different times so that you can see what is happening at each stage. So dot item is actually a method that of dictionary that prints out every key and value, every key value pair. Now it's going to print out everything in what the this thing, and it's going to make them in form of what tuples. We've seen what tuples, how tuples work. So we're going to now print out the word and then colon and the what the count. So let's run this and then let's see how it works. So we have enter a statement. So let's have a statement and say this is a Python class. It is okay. It is a good one. So we have several. Okay, yes. So now when we run this, so we see that what Python does is this first print statement here is what print this list, these words now. This is it here. So what it does now is that it has now what splitted this sentence I wrote now into what into words. So this now, because I gave a space after this, so it will split it. So this is a so what now this becomes a list. So what Python does now is that it's now going to iterate through what this list and print it down, add it to this variable word, and then start what counting the frequency. So this only mentioned what once, is mentioned twice here, and then a mentioned twice here and here. Python class, all of these were mentioned once. How interesting is this? So you can feel free to do whatever you want to do. Write any sentence and then carry out several things. And trust me, it's going to be exciting along. So I would end this here. So feel free to ask your questions. Yes. Does anyone have any question? Is there anything that is quite confusing, probably not understood? Please, this is the time to ask a question. Or you want to take time, first of all, to go and work on this, and then if you encounter any problem, of course, we are always here for you. So do I take our silence as the lesson was properly understood by everyone, and then
Good evening. Thank you so much for the class. I think it's something that personally I'll have to go back to just do practice over and over again. Now we're a bit lost because it's still something new to us. But it was actually a good one if we can get a recording so that we can, at our spare time, when at our leisure time, we can just relax and practice along. I think that will help. Yeah, but it was a good lesson. So with the recording, as in like the recorded this thing, we'll be able to do it. Thank you.
All right, that's a good one. So please also, whenever you encounter problem at any time at all, maybe when watching the recorded videos or when practicing on your